Good evening, everybody, and welcome to today's session of Roznama. Today is the 23rd of March, and this day, is celebrated or not celebrated but observed as Martyrs' Day in India. All right, now you will tell me in the comment box why do we observe today's 23rd of March as Martyrs' Day. This is the second Martyrs' Day that we observe in India. The first one is 30th of January. That is also observed as Martyrs' Day, but on that particular Martyrs' Day, we commemorate the assassination of Mahatma Gandhi. This is the second one that we observe in India, and you will tell me that commemorating whose death or assassination do we observe 23rd of March as Martyrs' Day, all right? And also yesterday we had 22nd of March, which was the World Water Day. On 21st of March, we celebrate World Glacier Day, all right? So both of these days, Water Day and Glacier Day, they have been commemorated by the United Nations only. And last year, 2025, the first World Glacier Day was celebrated or observed, all right? So these are certain important days that you must keep in mind. Now moving to the first piece of news today. It is Iran, which is issuing a threat after Donald Trump's threat. So what was Donald Trump's threat? Donald Trump had basically threatened that if Iran does not open the Strait of Hormuz, what is the Strait of Hormuz? Strait of Hormuz is a very critical choke point that connects two water bodies, that is the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. And it is this one particular strait which facilitates the export of gas, natural gas, as well as oil resources from the oil producing and gas producing West Asian countries to the global world. Now, countries globally are facing oil crunches, are facing gas crunches, as we can also see in India. So naturally, all of them are making a din about it, and also are criticizing Donald Trump for undertaking this entire war on Iran. So just to do away with this criticism that he is facing from the global world order, he has threatened Iran that he is going to destroy all of Iran's power plants if Iran does not open the Strait of Hormuz within 48 hours. Now, Iran also has somehow had enough with all the threats that the United States of America is issuing against Iran. So, Iran has also come out and said that they are going to completely close the Strait of Hormuz if Donald Trump even tries to destroy the power plants of Iran. Okay. All right. Then naturally, this particular crisis has been affecting India. So our Prime Minister has undertaken a meeting with the Cabinet Committee on Security to discuss the entire issue, the entire oil crisis, the entire energy crisis that India is currently going through, what could be its probable effects in the near future, and also now we are trying to diversify our resources of imports. All right. Now, oil is not as threatened as is gas, because gas, the major exporting hub is West Asia. For oil, we have diversified our resources already, and we are importing a major chunk of oil from Russia. So as of now, we are not seeing oil crisis in India, although we did see a rise in prices for petrol by 2 rupees, I think 3-4 days back. As of now, no such shortages are being seen in terms of West Asia, in terms of oil, but gas is a major concern. Okay. Then also, in Manipur, the entire state emergency came to an end with the appointment of the new chief minister for Manipur. And since his appointment, Yumnam Khemchand, he has tried to bring about conciliation between the two warring communities in Manipur, that is between the differences between Kuki-Zo and Meitei tribes, all right? And now he's saying that the engagement was quite effective and the results have been quite positive. Okay. All right. Then Iranian missiles were shot at or basically pointed, targeting Israeli towns towards the south of Israel, which has also undertaken destruction of Little India, where large number of Indian Jews resided. Okay. So all these strikes and retaliation are naturally because of Israel also undertaking attacks on Iran and Iran undertaking counterattacks on Israel. All right. Then Donald Trump, it's a continuation of the same news piece from the Indian Express. The previous one was from the Hindu. So in this particular news piece also, he says the same thing, that he's threatened to destroy all of power facilities in Iran if Iran does not open the Strait of Hormuz within 48 hours. All right. So, and also today we have entered day 23 of the war. The war began on 1st of March. Today is the 23rd day of the war. All right. Iran continued to attack Gulf countries. UAE said that it was targeted by 4 missiles and 25 drones. Israel ordered its military to intensify house demolitions in southern Lebanon. And WHO chief warned the war has reached a perilous stage with attacks near nuclear facilities. All right. Now, if nuclear facilities are destroyed, this will result in the release of a large number of poisonous, a large number of harmful gases in the atmosphere, which is also going to result in a large number of deaths in the people living in that particular region. Okay. Then NATO chief has downplayed Trump's rift, saying over 20 nations coming together to implement his vision. All right. Why is this important? Is because you have to keep in mind the name of the NATO chief, and his name is Mark Rutte. Okay. All right. Then Lebanon, Israel strikes key bridges, orders demolition. All right. So Israel has undertaken massive destruction of infrastructure in Lebanon. Lebanon and Israel are continuously at war. Why? Because one of the militant communities in Lebanon, the Hezbollah community, they were also mostly Shia community, and they also considered the Ayatollah of Iran as their religious head. So naturally, they were also not happy with the killing of their Ayatollah, and therefore they also undertook a concerted renewed attack on Israel after a peace agreement had been signed between the two countries in October 2024. Okay. All right. So this is also a continuation of the previous one, that Iranian missiles, they struck southern towns in Israel, which has resulted in killing off a large number of people. Then again, the same news on Lebanon. Then yesterday's newspaper, we did see that Cuba is facing significant energy crisis. So that is what is a continuation today. Now this has been, I think, the second power outage in the last in less than a week that has taken place in Cuba, specifically in the city of Havana. And this is basically this is simply happening in Cuba because of the entire economic embargoes and economic sanctions that have been put on Cuba since 1962, the Cuban Missile Crisis. And now, because of very little incoming energy resources in Cuba, Cuba is facing this major energy crisis. Okay. So again, an important piece of news. Now, Sonam Wangchuk, he was released from prison just a few days back. And why was he arrested? Because the government believed that he had undertaken incitement of violent protests in Ladakh, which resulted in the death of 4 protesters in Ladakh and injuring many others. And therefore, he was arrested under the provisions of the National Security Act of 1980. And because of his since his arrest, he has been in September 2025, he has been released now, and now he's returned to Ladakh, and now he's also asking for release of the other people, other protesters who were detained. All right. Okay. Then Supreme Court Judge Ujjal Bhuyan, he has also flagged a major important issue with the judiciary. That is, a few years back, the judiciary had, started working, not working exactly, but the judiciary had brought forth a principle known as more bail before jail, all right, or bail before jail. This was one of the ideas that were brought forth by the judiciary, and this was simply done to ensure that the prisons in the country are not overcrowded, and they wanted to ensure that people who are still under trial, at least they shouldn't be imprisoned, and they should be permitted to live their lives with dignity. Okay, so he has basically flagged this entire issue, saying that the judiciary in the country, they still function on the principle of being more loyal to the king being the executive, more loyal to the executive, due to which there have been arbitrary arrests in the country when people have been exercising their fundamental right to basic speech and expression under Article 19. So just because they voiced their opinions against the government, they have been arrested and they have been imprisoned, and they're all under trial, all right. So whenever their cases, they do come up in front of the judiciary, the judiciary becomes very, very reluctant to grant them bails, all right. So this is a good piece of information and a very good statement that is basically issued, all right. Then coming forward with the editorials for today. Okay, this article, a very beautifully written article, and it actually draws our attention to one of the basic essence of our political structure, and that is federal cooperation, okay, or cooperative federalism. All right, now this cooperative federalism was incepted by the present government only, and it is one of the core principles of Niti Aayog. Okay, so Niti Aayog basically works on this basic principle of cooperative federalism. What does cooperative federalism actually seek to imply is that the federalism here implies division of powers between the central government and the state government, that there would be certain concerted areas and spheres of work that will be aligned to the central government, and there would be certain concerted areas and sphere of work that would be aligned to the state government. However, the center and the state government, they have to always work in cooperation with each other to ensure effective development of the country as a whole. All right. Now, since the BJP government came to power, the BJP government has been, undertaking and playing on this one slogan, which is known as double engine ki sarkar. All right. So what do they actually imply by double engine ki sarkar is that you have the BJP government at the center and you have the BJP government in the states. In a lot of states, for example, we have the BJP government in UP, we have it in Maharashtra, etc. So double engine ki sarkar simply implies that the government at the central level is also going to work effectively, the governments in the state level is also going to work effectively. Now, when we have the same party in power at the center as well as in the state governments and in the state, then naturally whatever policy programs that are ideated, incepted, formulated, try to be implemented in the country at the central level, they get very easily accepted and implemented in the states also, all right. But then we have seen in the past and in the very recent past instances of during the Tamil Nadu governor versus government case, and also recently when we saw issues cropping up during the governor's addresses in certain states of Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Himachal Pradesh, mostly in the regions where we had opposition governments. So here we do see resistance between the central government and the state governments, all right. So this resistance is actually acting like uncooperative federalism, and through double engine, the government is basically trying to portray an asymmetrical level of development. Asymmetrical level of development here implies that the central government is going to purposefully undertake development of those regions where they have their own party in power, and not undertake development in the regions where maybe there are opposition parties who are in power, all right. So this is a very good critical take on the double engine concept of the government. So do go through it. Then the next one is digital exile. This article is on censorship, that how in India in the recent past we've seen things like people being arrested while exercising their fundamental rights provided to them under Article 19, that is freedom of speech, expression of thought, belief, faith, etc. So we did see a large number of arrests that took place, and then recently the X platform, social media platform, the platform had issued notices to certain users of X who had undertaken publishing or posting of any content which was anti-government in nature. So the content was asked to be taken down, and also their accounts were suspended. So that is basically that you can't exercise your right to freedom of speech and expression in case you are saying anything that is against the government. All right. Then section 301 of the United States of America. So recently it was in news that that America's trade representative USTR, they have undertaken investigation into around 16 countries with whom US has trade surplus, and India is also one of those countries. The USTR has invoked article section 301 of the enforcement of United States rights under trade agreements and response to unfair trade practices act. And it was through invoking of this particular act that they're trying to see that if US has trade surplus with any country, trade deficit with any country like India, China, and 14 others, then what are the basic causes of this trade surplus? And if of this trade deficit, and if there is this trade deficit, so if there is any instance that these countries, they're actually making use of unfair production processes, if they are undertaking employment of forced labor into their production process. Okay, so that is the background of the article. Do go through it. The next one is on Ayush. So this actually gives us the basic pros and cons of Ayush. So what is Ayush? Ayush is an abbreviation which seeks to give recognition, which seeks to outline the traditional medicine systems in India. Okay, traditional medicine systems. A stands for Ayurveda. Y stands for Yoga. U stands for Unani. S stands for Siddha. And Sova Rigpa. And H stands for homeopathy. Okay. So these are the traditional medicine systems that India has, and it is through the Ayush Ministry and also recently proposed in the budget, where the government seeks to set up all India institutes of Ayurveda along the same lines as AIMS are set up in India. However, AIMS is for promotion of Western medicine. Ayush institutes are for specific promotion of Indian medicine. All right. So it was proposed in the budget. Then also the significant amount of money that has been allocated to Ayush medicines has seen a continuous rise in the recent past. However, with all of this, we also do see certain glitches in it, in the sense that Ayush medicine system has very little scientific backing, due to which it does not get ready acceptance in the Western world. And how with certain initiatives like undertaking the European Union Free Trade Agreement and all, India has fostered good development of the Ayush medicine sector in the country. All right. Then this particular article, it's a good deep dive in the Hindu today. And this article tells us that how in the present scenario, our gas supply is basically threatened. So some years back in 1955, it was proposed by Syed Hussain Zahir. Syed Hussain Zahir, who had called for envisioned the establishment of National Coal Gasification Mission to secure energy dependence. All right. But then again, they tried to ideate over this entire mission, which sought to establish a national grid supply of gas that was developed or that was harnessed through burning of coal. And that would naturally, if we would have implemented it in the country, it would have resulted in a massive reduction in our dependence on imported gas. All right. But however, it was ideated, worked upon from 1955 till 1973. 1973, the entire global world order for the first energy crisis, and it was then that this entire plan went to the bins. Okay, so do go through an article. It's a good one. All right. Then this article again gives us a massive contrast as to a few days back we did have an article written by Shashi Tharoor, who had basically praised that, how India is trying to, establish a very balanced approach in everything. Here this particular article has basically try to show us that how, you know, this war is basically not trying to end the entire conflict in the region, where US and Israel undertook this massive attack on Iran to bring about a regime change, to bring about at least, you know, bring about in existence one country which is not anti-Israel. But then naturally none of such thing is happening there, and the war is being continued in the region, which is also eventually going to result in massive increase in the number of enemies that Israel has in the region. Then this article is a major take on the United States of America's entire deadline that they've issued to the country of Iran, saying that if they do not open the Strait of Hormuz within 48 hours, then US is going to bomb all of their power plants. All right. So again, go through it. It's a good one. Okay, then this article basically gives us an insight into why right now in northern part of India we are seeing these erratic weather changes. All right. So this weather change in the month of March is not something that is a very new phenomena. It does happen every year, and this is caused by a cyclonic event known as western disturbances. All right. So these western disturbances, these are actually cyclonic winds. These are temperate cyclones. Okay. These are temperate cyclones. What are temperate cyclones? Temperate cyclones are cyclones which originate in the temperate region of the earth. So we have the equator that divides the earth into two equal halves. Then we have the 23.5 degree north latitude, 23.5 degree south latitude, which are the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. All right. So all the region that lies between the Tropic of Cancer and Capricorn is known as your tropical zone. Then above this, from 23.5 degrees north to 66.5 degrees north and south of the equator, this region here is known as your temperate zone. Okay. And temperate zone is basically a mixture of seasons, and these cyclones, they occur in this temperate zone, and here in the case of western disturbances, specifically from the Mediterranean Sea. Okay, so they occur in the Mediterranean Sea in the temperate zone. That is why they are known as temperate cyclones. Then they originate in the Mediterranean Sea, travel through the entire West Asia through the countries of Iran, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and enter India from the northwestern side. All right. Then they tend to give us thunderstorms and hailstorms and rain in the lower latitude regions like the states of UP, Punjab, Haryana, etc. While in higher altitude regions like Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Jammu and Kashmir, etc., we see snowfall. All right. Then the article also talks about nor'westers. Nor'westers occur in the state of West Bengal. All right. So nor'westers are also heavy thunderstorm, lightning laden winds and rainfall that occur in West Bengal, and these are known as nor'westers in West Bengal, and they are known as Kal Baisakhi in Assam. All right. So this is what the article talks about. Okay. Then this is a good take on how India's foreign policy has not had a very recent, has a very balanced approach recently. Why? Because of everything that is happening in the West Asian region, India chose to stay quiet. India did not come out in support of any of the countries, and directly, indirectly, India is actually supporting the ones who actually started the war. All right. And then the entire article moves forward and gives us various examples of how India did take a stand previously, for example, during the non-aligned movement days as well, and also during the time of the 1956 crisis, which was known as the Suez Canal crisis or the Suez War, where combined armies of UK, Britain and US, they attacked Egypt, and then India had taken a stand for Egypt. India had supported Egypt against all of these wars. All right. Then one reference has been made for Egypt. Then another we did see in case of South Africa, when the entire country was reeling under the apartheid regime, and was fighting to gain independence and their respective rights, no country stood up in support, but India did stand up in support, where India said that they are not going to undertake any trade activity, any import or export of goods with the apartheid regime in South Africa. So we've had instances in the past where India has stood with the right, but here India did not take up any chance, any stand, which is basically showing that how India is abandoning its voice now. Okay. All right. Then this article is on the basic advantages of the new scheme that has been launched by the government, which is the Urban Challenge Fund. Under this particular program, the government is going to align 4 lakh crore of rupees, out of which 1 crore of rupees will be given by the central government. The other would be raised through the market in terms of public-private partnership. All right. And this Urban Challenge Fund is going to drive India's urbanization, work on things which actually hinder urbanization, like better disaster management, like providing good climate resilient infrastructure, water management, etc. Okay, so good article, go through it. Then the next one is that recently we've seen that in the WTO, which is scheduled to have its annual ministerial conference, here last year in the same conference, China had backed a form of investment which is known as investment facilitation for development agreement. All right, India had opposed this Chinese IFD style of development. Why? Because China has a policy known as checkbook diplomacy. Okay, now as per Chinese checkbook diplomacy policy, what does China simply imply is that China seeks to extend loans to poorer countries, to the least developed countries, and then naturally invests in projects which sometimes tend to be non-benefiting in the long run, that they are not going to bring back any such returns to this particular country. But then if you've extended loans, so you will naturally call back, you will ask back the money. And if this least developed country or a poor country cannot return the money, then China says that it's absolutely fine. If you can't return us the money, you lease a portion of your land to us. All right, which China did very recently with Sri Lanka for leasing the Hambantota port in Sri Lanka for a 99 years. All right, so the article basically says that how India does not support this form of investment on part of China. All right, then quickly coming to the news in brief. Yesterday we had our Prime Minister who has created a record. What is this respective record? The record is that they are going to that the Prime Minister has become the longest serving head of any elected government in India. So a total of 8,931 days. All right, 931 days, and he has broken the record of the previous leader of Sikkim, who held this record of 8,930 days. All right, so he was Pawan Kumar Chamling, who had stayed in power for this long, and also after this particular election win, in the sense that the next Lok Sabha elections, then he would also become the longest serving Prime Minister of India in case he gets re-elected. Okay, so do keep in mind his entire record now. Then we have Agri-PV. I just wanted to flag this term for you, which implies agricultural photovoltaic cell. All right, where the government has proposed that in the same agricultural field, the government is going to set up solar panels. All right, so these solar panels will act as sources to harness electricity for the farm, and whatever electricity is harnessed, the farmers may use that electricity to undertake use that electricity for their own farming activities, and whatever surplus electricity is there that they generate, then they can sell it off to the government grids also. All right, so this is the purpose of Agri-PV. PV stands for photovoltaic. Agri stands for agriculture. So together, generation of harnessing of solar energy and practicing of agriculture will take place in the same field. Okay. So keep the term in mind. Then today we celebrate the World Meteorological Day. What is the word? Why do we celebrate World Meteorological Day? The day was marked as World Meteorological Day in 1951 to commemorate the establishment of the World Meteorological Organization on the 23rd of March 1950. Okay. Then again, just wanted to flag the term referendum for you. Referendum is an instrument of direct democracy, and direct democracy simply implies a form of democracy where the people, the general population, the citizens of the country, they involve themselves, they are involved by the government in policy formulation inputs. Okay, so anything, for example, if in India also, we want the government establishes or undertakes any particular policy program, etc., and the government, before implementing that policy, opens that policy for voting by everybody in the country. If the people agree to that particular policy, then the policy will be implemented. If the people do not agree on that particular policy, then the policy will not be implemented. Okay, so referendum is opening everything, every initiative that the government wants to undertake for direct vote by the people. Okay, so referendum is an instrument of direct democracy. We do not undertake this in India. We elect our representatives and they act as our representatives in the parliament, make policy decisions on our behalf, and therefore we exercise indirect democracy in the country. Okay. All right. Then again, just wanted to flag Jewar Airport for you all. This is the next operational airport in India. It has been established in Noida and it has been established in collaboration with Zurich Airport Authority of Switzerland. And this is going to be India's largest airport, not only India, but even Asia's largest airport. Okay. So that is why just keep it in mind. And that is all for today. I hope it was a good, wonderful session for you all, and I'll see you all tomorrow with the next one. Happy learning, children. Thank you.